Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. Once again, we are playing as the Tomb Kings, and we are playing as a good old Arkan the Black, who is really my favorite lord right now, and for the Tomb Kings, and so I've been playing him quite a bit. And we are playing here against the High Elves on the map, the Sulphur River. So, I decided to go very one-dimensional with this army, or definitely in a kind of gimmicky-oriented manner. Obviously, the Tomb Kings, though, do have some serious issues dealing with heavy infantry, and so I wanted to really have an army that could deal with that, and so for that reason, I just decided to bring Shabti Great Bows. And this is going to be a very lengthy match, so I'm going to try to kind of jump right into things and be as brief as possible on the intros. Of course, for my lord, as mentioned before, I did bring Arkan the Black, fully kitted out with his good old Liber Mortis, Staff of Nagash, as well as the Tomb Blade of Arkan, which I think is a great little ability that providing essentially a Nehek effect and affecting all units, including constructs. He himself, not the greatest melee combatant, but not the worst either. And of course, with Fate of Buna as well as Spear Leech, I can definitely whittle down my opponent's troops pretty effectively. My front line is composed entirely of Skeleton Spears, who are a very trashy chaff unit. They will not do well against anything the High Elves put on the field. They are simply there to buy me time for my Shabti to do work. They are backed by a single Necrotect, of course, for those heals as well as that melee attack debuff, which will hopefully allow the Spears to last a little longer. The Necrotect also does have an Elixir of Might, which allows me to buff some of my constructs, and then Restore, which replenishes the hit points of the targeted combatant. Then, here in the back, as mentioned before, two Shabti Great Bows, as well as a Chosen of the Gods Shabti Great Bow. Unfortunately, I do squander some ammo here against the Flamespire Phoenix, who my opponent has out in the open, scouting around. Finally, to deal with enemy large, I do have a unit of veteraned up Necropolis Knights with halberds. These guys are actually rather potent. I have seen a lot of complaints about them on the forums, and people saying they're not very good. Personally, I completely disagree. I actually think they're rather powerful. They have very high HP pools, decent armor, decent melee attack and melee defense, and of course, rather monstrous weapon strength and bonus versus large. For my opponent, he did decide to go very infantry heavy, and obviously this is not a very bad pick against the Tomb Kings, whose large units will struggle to deal with units such as Phoenix Guard, and their infantry is far too inadequate to really deal effectively with units such as White Lions or Phoenix Guard. So for his lord, my opponent did bring Tyrion, of course, with the usual equipment. He does have, I do believe, the Heart of Averlorn. He does have the Sunfang. You can see over here the Heart of Averlorn. Faint Interpost, which is of course a great little buff, and then Foe Seeker for that speed and vigor. You can see the Flamespire Phoenix being a nuisance, even as my Shabti do start picking away at his Phoenix Guard. He does have a Mage of Life on foot, coming in with only Earthblood. Still, that is a rather powerful spell, and of course she does have the Starwood Staff as well as the Book of Hoth for those additional Winds of Magic. For my opponent's front line, he does have a mix of 3 White Lines of Krace, actually 4 White Lines of Krace, and 3 units of Phoenix Guard. Finally, up in the air, a super veteran up Flamespire Phoenix, who can of course bombard my troops with his little Flame Strikes. He does have a small ward save as long as my opponent's Magic Reserves last. And of course, he's not a bad melee combatant. Against the Tomb King Lords and Heroes, who of course are susceptible to fire damage, 25% weakness, he will be rather potent. You can see the front lines immediately clashing, the Skeleton Spear just crumbling. They're already down 20 or so models right after impact, and just collapsing very quickly. In the backline, anytime my Shabti are being engaged upon by the Flamespire Phoenix, resulting in me immediately counterattacking with the Necropolis Knights, who can of course poison the Phoenix, but will not really be able to keep it tied down. So while it's definitely not causing critical hurt to my back line, it is able to tie me down and waste my time. In the meantime, over here you can see that the Sunfang annihilating this unit of Skeleton Spears, causing them to completely crumble and disintegrate, and punching a hole in the center of my line. Over here, the Shabti Great Bows are trying to fire away, damage these Phoenix Guard. I'm finally getting a cast of physical resistance here with Liber Mortis, and over here the Sphinx of Usef is going hard after the my opponent's front line, just trying to plug things up, and then later going after the Mage of Life. Though currently you can see I'm actually not focusing on her. Over here on the flank, I'm trying to chase down the Flamespire Phoenix, who is trying to worm its way out of the fray. Of course, the Flamespire does have that annoying regen that can kick in once it drops to really low HP, and I'm kind of hoping it doesn't get away with that. Over here on the flank, Tyrion does try to stall my Necropolis Knights, but they, combined with the Sphinx, will really be able to do quite a bit of hurt here. You can see the Mage of Life has actually been shattered, so my opponent will no longer have any magical support. So things are definitely looking okay for me, though my front line is practically annihilated. And the Shabti Great Bows are struggling to get shots in. You can see the Phoenix Guard here holding out. The Phoenix has managed to get back up in the air, and you can see really my White Lines of Krace, or my Necropolis Knights here, getting dragged into the muck and being slowly but surely annihilated by the White Lines. Over here, the Flamespire Phoenix has once again infiltrated into my backline, and I really have nothing available to shut it down. My spears are collapsing. Definitely the gimmick is not exactly working out. Over here, the Sphinx of Usef, boosted by the Elixir of Might, is doing a lot of damage to Tyrion, though, dragging him down. And you can see my Necropolis Knights do manage to turn around and get on top of the Flamespire Phoenix, whose HP pool is dropping incredibly quickly. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the fire resistance on the Flamespire Phoenix is. It's probably very high. It actually says 70%. So the if I do attempt to attack it with the Sphinx of Usef, it will simply not be able to do very much damage at all to the Flamespire Phoenix. It's got about 81% damage resistance right now. Here in the front line, the Necrotect is being dragged into the muck, simply unable to break out and taking huge amounts of damage. He did manage to cast a heal on the Sphinx before going down, but not much else. Over here, the Necropolis Knights are surrounding Tyrion and just trying to damage him, but of course with Faint and Riposte, he's an incredibly tough target. Even with their bonus first large, they will be very hard pressed to hit him. Over here, Arkan's trying to stall, but is going to be forced to retreat, and my opponent has definitely won the front line fight. You can see my Summoned Ushapti here, despite their best efforts, are not going to be able to finish off the white lines. You can see the bar is technically in my favor currently, but I think it's definitely a bit misleading. It's definitely because of that Summoned Unit of Ushapti, which will shortly collapse, and then things are going to be much more grim. I'm also not really able to extricate the Necropolis Knights. They are very low on HP, and they will be annihilated fairly shortly, as they're just not able to worm their way out. Over here, the Sphinx of Usef just kind of dashing around, trying to avoid getting shut down. You can see the Phoenix Guard over here, getting shot up, of course, by the Ushapti Great Bows, but I simply do not have the firepower to really stop them, and I'm going to be able to force to retreat here with the Ushapti. The Ushapti, of course, do have pretty high movement. They have 54 movement speed, so they will be able to actually kite the White Lions, and that is definitely what I'm going for in this situation. Over here, you can see I'm trying to pursue the Phoenix Guard until they shatter with Arkan as well as the Spearmen, though as you can see, the final unit of Spearmen is crumbling and simply unable to recover. These White Lions over here did rout and will shortly come back. And I'm simply trying to just pursue these Phoenix Guard off the field and cause them to die. Over here, the Ushapti, of course, being pursued. The Necropolis Knights are finally brought low by the Flamespire Phoenix, and as you can see, the bar has once again stabilized as my remaining troops are crumbling and falling apart. The Phoenix Guard, Arkan is actually struggling to finish off the Phoenix Guard. You can see Tyrion here is very low on HP. I do believe his Heart of Avalorn has already procced, and he's definitely in a bit of a rough spot. So definitely the two armies are very rough. I cannot hold my opponent's forces and beat him in a straight up fight, because of course I'm limited at this point to just Ushapti Great Bows, Arkan, and the Sphinx. But my opponent is definitely struggling to catch me. His only units that are fast enough are the Flamespire Phoenix as well as Tyrion, and neither of those are exactly efficient at killing the Ushapti Great Bows. So it's definitely going to be a rough fight. You can see over here Arkan racing back, trying to save his poor Ushapti here, and hitting Tyrion with Spirit Leech, just draining his HP away and causing him to tank in HP a whole, just causing him to fall apart really. The Flamespire Phoenix in the meantime does dive down once again, causing these Ushapti to really kind of start waver and nearly start crumbling. You can see that they have lost a model. They're down to 8 models, and I'm simply trying to stall my opponent out with the Sphinx of Usef. You can see my opponent's infantry here is just recovering. High Elf infantry just doesn't break. It's really rather frustrating to deal with. And you can see the Sphinx of Usef here getting some damage in on the White Lines of Krace, but it's simply not able to stick around. Despite its high mass, if it gets surrounded by the Phoenix Guard, it will be dragged into the muck in a pretty horrific manner. Over here, you can see the poor Ushapti are being surrounded and taking some immense war damage despite the heals from the Tomb Blade of Arkan. But I am capable of zoning away Tyrion and forcing him to retreat, and keep kiting with the Ushapti, just trying to kind of pick away at my opponent's troops, cause damage here and there, and slowly but surely whittle him down. Fortunately, my opponent, though, is in a very strong position here with 3 units of the White Lions still very much intact, as well as 2 units of the Phoenix Guard sitting at a pretty solid HP levels. One of the big problems, of course, with the Sphinx of Usef that I decided to bring is that, of course, Tyrion as well as the Flamespire Phoenix both have built-in magic fire resistance. You can see Tyrion is actually sitting at almost 50% with 45% resistance. And then, of course, the Phoenix has about 80% resistance. You can see the Ushapti keep trying to kite, but they are being pecked away at by the Flamespire Phoenix, as well as the White Lines of Krace, and slowly but surely getting annihilated. Over here in the pits, you can see Arkan does pursue Tyrion, causing some damage. He does try to cast the Sunfang, but that will not do very much to the Ushapti, who are rather tanky. And Tyrion here is being hit by the Spirit Leech and drained down to basically nothingness. He's down to 637, 505, almost dead. And I do try to finish him off here, but unfortunately I'm not quite able to do so. The Ushapti do not manage to get one more shot in. I actually do change target onto the White Lions, thinking I've got Tyrion dead to rights. And despite breaking and being terrified, Tyrion actually will survive here, and he will recover and stick around with that legendary high elf morale. In the meantime, the Ushapti are pecking away at the White Lions, just trying to use those, I do believe they're piercing attacks, to bring these guys down and get some additional damage in there. But unfortunately, of course, as mentioned before, I can't allow my troops to stay in there because the Phoenix Guard will just tear them apart with their monstrous melee stats. And this is definitely this is a bit of a problem for me. I simply do not really have the ability to break through that much Phoenix Guard and deal with them. So what I'm trying to do now is really just isolate these white lions. Over here, you can see the Chosen of the Gods actually do almost manage to slaughter the Flamespire Phoenix, but it does get that burst, that rebirth, and comes back at almost full HP. Which is rather definitely not the most encouraging sight. Definitely annoys me a little bit, and definitely kind of my opponent definitely lucked out a little bit here, but nonetheless, definitely making full use of that Flamespire Phoenix to shut down my highest value target right now. Those Chosen of the Gods were really kind of an ace in the hole against the enemy infantry. You can see here the bar is about at 50-50. Arkan here getting mucked up in melee against Phoenix Guard, who are of course a very, very potent unit, especially as long as their martial mastery is up. And I'm simply trying to kite away with the Ushabti Great Bows, but of course there is that annoying Flamespire Phoenix up in the air who can always shut them down and cause some immense work. In the meantime, I do try to pursue Tyrion, but Tyrion is simply hiding amongst the trees and running away, and there are still 10 minutes, so we will simply fast forward a little bit. You can see the Flamespire Phoenix coming in to harass. Arkan and the Sphinx will be able to attack it and cause a little bit of hurt, but once again, it does have that crazy damage resistance, so neither the Sphinx, well, specifically now the Sphinx is not really able to do that much hurt to it. In the meantime, the Flamespire Phoenix is just able to do immense work to Arkan. You can see here they do surround the Sphinx of Usef, and I'm really struggling to get it clear, and I'm just not able to get it clear. It just is taking huge amounts of war damage, and things are definitely looking rather grim. In the meantime, my second unit of Ushabti is trying to pursue Tyrion, but Tyrion is escaping and lucking out quite a bit. My opponent is definitely being on top of microing him and just avoiding getting caught. And in the meantime, I finally do decide to make a stand here with the Sphinx of Usef, realizing I'm simply not going to be able to hold my ground, and do try to fight the Phoenix here and definitely bring it down quite a bit, but definitely things aren't working out great, and you can see Arkan here getting annihilated. Ushabti do try to kite back out of range, but the Flamespire Phoenix is once again being a nuisance and pursuing them. I do try to micro the Sphinx of Usef away, popping the Tomb Blade of Arkan, giving it huge amounts of healing. You can see its HP climbing up rather quickly. In the meantime, of course, the Ushabti will be able to peck away, hopefully, at the Phoenix. And you can see the Sphinx does actually stabilize here. It does rally, and you can see it's back up to about 1300 HP, so that's definitely rather successful, a bit of successful healing there. Unfortunately, it is immediately going to get mucked up once again. I'm definitely overestimate its mass here, and definitely don't quite maximize my usage of it. Over here, in the meantime, you can see the Ushabti with Great Bows picking away at my opponent's troops. Definitely not doing the greatest job at killing them off, killing models, but they are trying, and they are doing quite a bit of work here and there. Arkan, in the meantime, does not have the Winds of Magic to really cast anything at this point. And you can see the Sphinx of Usef is going to get dragged into the muck shortly after being healed up a whole bunch and just crumbling and disintegrating. You can see I do try to get a charge here into the Phoenix, but of course it's not going to be able to do very much damage there, and it gets dragged down. This was definitely a big mistake for me, the Sphinx of Usef. Had I brought a vanilla Sphinx, it would have actually been much more powerful in this situation than the special Sphinx, and I definitely should have kept that in mind. Over here you can see the Ushabti with Great Bows are trying to kite away, just trying to stay alive against this mob of annoying infantry. I've now lost my source of terror, so there's really not much hope for terror out for me. But you can see definitely the Great Bows are doing quite a bit of work. They do still have some ammunition left. And if they're able to whittle down the Phoenix Guard, which they are doing somewhat successfully, you can see they've lost about 20 models apiece in the course of this running fight. If they are capable of doing that, then my opponent will definitely be in a much more grim position. Over here, Arkan is kiting away, just trying to buy my Ushabti time to apply some pressure, but of course my opponent is on top of that and does drop his Flamespire Phoenix into the midst of the Ushabti. Now the Ushabti are, once again, they're rather resistant. They do have decent melee defense, and I do believe 36, which boosts up to 41 with Arkan in the middle of them, but they're still rather, they will still definitely take some damage from the Phoenix. And you can see that here, despite Arkan just trying to zone it away, the Flamespire Phoenix is just very, very quick and is capable of disengaging incredibly easily. The Ushabti with Great Bows here, trying to run, trying to do their best to escape, but of course the High Elf infantry is rather relatively quick, Wood Elves there, and they're definitely not having the easiest time escaping. You can see another Ushabti with Great Bows does go down, but Arkan does land another hit there. Arkan has okay melee defense, or melee attack, and okay charge bonus, so definitely when he lands hits, he can definitely land some hits on the Flamespire Phoenix. At this point, I do realize I really need to drag down my opponent's Flamespire Phoenix. He's just kiting with Tyrion, and I'm not really able to catch him and finish him off. 2 hits from a bow at this point would finish off Tyrion. Perhaps he would rout if he took 1, but I'm simply not able to do that. You can see Arkan taking immense damage here. Ushabti are down to 5 models, and definitely not having a good time. They are starting to crumble. And should these guys fall apart, I will simply run out of troops, and I will really not have anything to engage my opponent with. Arkin, in the meantime, simply trying to kite away from the enemy infantry, and I'm not really able to drag down this incredible nuisance of a Flamespire Phoenix. And this whole game has been plaguing me, and it finally does go down, but definitely a bit too little too late. And you can see my Ushabti here are just trying to escape and retreating away from the Phoenix Guard, but they are starting to crumble, and I do not have a heal for them, so they will most likely be a lost cause. This other unit of Ushabti down to 3 rounds of ammo, so definitely things are looking grim. This unit does have 5 rounds of ammo, but if I stop to shoot at this point, I will be destroyed by the mob of Elven infantry, and so we'll throw things into fast forward here as we play a bit of Benny Hill action. In the meantime, I do turn Arkin and the other Ushabti around, trying to chase down Tyrion and put him into the dirt once and for all, and of course the timer is starting to run low. We are down to we do have only about 3.5 minutes left in the fight, and both my opponent and I are trying to settle things once and for all. My opponent is of course Benny healing away with Tyrion, who is incredibly fast on the Malhandir, saying that I do believe 94 speed, so really hard for me to catch. On the flip side, I have no intention of allowing his infantry to catch my troops, so we are definitely Benny healing away from each other with our most critical units. And finally, I do catch Tyrion, or almost catch Tyrion, but cause him to shatter from the mere proximity to the mighty Arkin the Black. So definitely a bit of fun there. I finally just get close enough to rout him. However, my opponent does still have a handful of troops left. He does still have some Phoenix Guard. He does still have some White Lines of Krace. And despite the loss of their Lord, and of course Tyrion will rout off the map fairly shortly, they are going to stick around for quite a while. These guys are definitely not in the mood for routing off immediately. And despite the fact that I do try to get a few arrows in here, I do whittle down the Phoenix Guard some more. At this point, I'm simply far too low on ammunition, and you can see I do try to push through with Arkin. I do manage to rout off one of the units of White Lines, but we do have less than a minute left in the fight at this point. Both my opponent and I, neither of us were going for a cheese win. Both of us wanted a legitimate win here, and we do just kind of engage each other in a full-on head-to-head battle, trying to settle things once and for all. I do get a nice little recharge here on the White Lines of Krace with Arkin, which will force them to rout, but unfortunately the Phoenix Guard do come a little later, and so because of that, the Phoenix Guard will not actually take the rear charge penalty, and though things are definitely not going great, I do get a 2-blade of Arkin off, which means my Ushabti are sticking around, as is Arkin. And although I do believe the balance of power is once again shifting in my favor, and I'm having some confidence that I might be able to drag my opponent's Phoenix Guard into the muck, the timer is just simply running out, and it's definitely a race against time to see if I can break his 2 units of Phoenix Guard and settle the match before my opponent kills my Ushabti. But unfortunately, neither of us will have the satisfaction of victory in a very long and hard fought battle, as the time simply runs out. And we both suffer a draw. So definitely a bit of a heartbreaker. I can imagine that for my opponent it was much the same. Both of us tried to play the end game to our strengths. My opponent was trying to keep Tyrion alive at all costs through some very good micro. I was trying to kite him back with the Ushabti. It definitely came right down to the wire. Very well played to my opponent. Akes the Greatest. And definitely was a great and fun game. I definitely think part of my problem, or one of my major problems with this build, was the fact that it was incredibly gimmicky. I also didn't consider the weakness of the Necrosphinx fire damage against the High Elves. I forgot that I didn't think about the fact that both Tyrion as well as the Flamespire Phoenix do have fire resistance. And in fact, had my opponent brought Dragon Princes, they also have a fire resistance. So that definitely makes the Sphinx of Usef a very bad pick, and that is definitely 100% my fault, and definitely something that crippled me in this game. Had I had a normal Necrosphinx, I would have been capable of affording perhaps better units for my backline, and I would have also been able to, or better units for my front line to hold, and I would have also been able to shut down that Phoenix much more effectively. Nonetheless, my opponent's build was definitely very potent. The Tomb Kings have serious issues with heavy anti-large infantry. They do, of course, have the Ushabti, but if the Ushabti gets shut down by a unit like the Flamespire Phoenix, which my opponent was doing really effectively here, and if they just get swarmed, the Tomb Kings or Ushabti will just not do enough work to succeed, or to win you the game. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Definitely, that's one of the big weaknesses for the Tomb Kings. It's simply heavily armored anti-large infantry, because they just don't have the best counters to that. So nonetheless, I do hope you guys enjoyed the game. It was very rough, very intense, and lasted for quite a while. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below to keep up with additional content. As usual, guys, I do appreciate any commentary or any information you guys would like to post down in the comment section below, and I'll respond as soon as I can. If you have any, so if you have any comments like that, be sure to post them down below, and I'll respond as soon as I can. As usual, guys, I do appreciate you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.